2020 has been quite the year for flight simulation. The most notable event that has happened is Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 being released to the public. With this new influx of people wanting to get involved in flight simulation, lots of questions have arisen around the question of what is an online network and how do I get involved, including dealing with your first flight and overcoming the fear of making mistakes. In this video, I'm going to go over that and how you can get in the skies while dealing with air traffic control for the first time.
Hey, Trouble 678, left turn to 340, maintain 2000 until established or cleared ILS runway 31 right approach.
340, 2000, established clear ILS 31 right, Trouble 678.
For those of you who don't know me, hi, my name's Joe. I'm a real-world private pilot with my instrument and advanced ground instructor certificates, currently working on my instrument rating. I'm also the Director of Support for POSCON, the Positive Control Network, which is one of many flight simulation networks. I'm certified as a New York Center air traffic controller on VATSIM. For those of you interested in watching flight simulation with air traffic control or air traffic control in general, you can watch me on Twitch, and I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. The first question that must be answered is what is an online network and how do I get involved? Well, there are multiple online networks that exist. There's VATSIM, IVEO, Pilot Edge, and POSCON. Now that you have a good idea of the networks that exist, I'm going to give you a few tips for the beginners who are just connecting for the first time that you should definitely write down and keep in your back pocket while you're learning how to fly on online networks, along with speaking with air traffic control. My first piece of advice to you, and arguably one of the most important, is do not choose a large international airport as your first airport to log on to. The reason for this is the procedures within that airport are much more complex than smaller airports, and they're typically much busier than other airports. You're not going to have the attention of the air traffic controller, and they're not going to be able to assist you as you work through the correct phraseology and telling them what you want. Look for a smaller airport that has an air traffic control service online, whether that be ground, delivery, that's actually in the wrong order, delivery, ground, tower, departure, or approach. Look for a smaller airport. You're going to be able to have the attention of that controller, especially if you're only one of a few aircraft in that airspace. And you're going to be able to make mistakes without much consequence either. The worst thing from my experience is being an air traffic controller who's super busy and having a new pilot connect and not know what to do. That's to no fault of you as a new pilot, but it's just really bad timing because I cannot teach you or give you the assistance that you truly need while I'm swamped with other aircraft who are in my airspace. My second piece of advice to you is to always have a notepad with you. Whether it be a notepad, whether it be a scratch pad digitally, something to write on. When you call up delivery, which is your clearance, and you say, you know, we want to fly out north, they're going to ask you a very important question. Okay, are you VFR or IFR? Now these two terms you need to become familiar with. VFR stands for Visual Flight Rules. That essentially means that you're not following any specific route and you're really just doing some sightseeing. You're flying where you can see outside the plane, you're not flying in any clouds. That's the VFR to about 2 sentences. That's exactly what VFR is. There's a lot more to VFR, but I don't want to inundate you just yet. Then there's IFR. IFR is more complex. It stands for Instrument Flight Rules. Instrument flight rules allow you to fly through clouds and you fly on a very specific route, flying a specific departure and arrival procedure, all the way down to perhaps an instrument approach if the conditions warrant it. You have to stick to this route and it is not flexible. IFR is much harder than VFR because you're told a lot more information and you're restricted to that route and making sure that your altitudes, speeds, and more are matched exactly as directed by the air traffic controller. With that information in hand, having a notepad with you will help you when you're given your clearance for a VFR or an IFR departure. This brings me to my third tip. For your first flight, do a VFR flight. Do not do IFR. And the reason I say that is because VFR phraseology and procedures are much easier than IFR. If you really want to be thrown in the deep end and, be treading water and just trying to get by, you can feel free to connect as an IFR aircraft. But my advice to you is to start as VFR. This allows you to fly wherever you want within reason and not have to talk to air traffic control as much as you would during an instrument flight. You do need to be aware of some airspace delegations though. As I'm a United States-based virtual air traffic controller, I can tell you that it's very important that you understand the difference between Class Bravo, Class Charlie, and Class Delta airspace. Class D is indicated on a sectional chart, which you can find the link below to SkyVector for a free sectional chart. Class D is indicated with a blue ring around the airport and it's dashed. Class C is indicated with a magenta line surrounding the airport. And last but not least, Class Bravo typically surrounds some of the nation's largest airports like Kennedy, LaGuardia, Newark, Atlanta, and a few others. That is indicated with a solid blue line. There are requirements when it comes to flying in these airspaces. A Class Delta, you need to have two-way radio communication with the air traffic controller, nothing else. Class Charlie, you need two-way radio communication with the air traffic controller and a transponder code. This is a code that the air traffic controller will issue. It's a 4-digit code and you put it into your airplane. And last but not least, Class Bravo, you need two-way radio communication with the air traffic controller, a transponder code, and a very, very obvious clearance into that airspace. So you cannot fly into Class Bravo airspace without hearing the magic words of your call sign, let's say you're November 1234. November 1234 cleared into the New York Class Bravo airspace at 2000. When you hear those words, you can now enter that airspace at 2,000 feet and maintain 2,000 feet. You can find more just by Googling different classes of United States airspace. Knowing these very basic things is going to make your life a lot easier when it comes to flying on networks. And the reason for that is that the air traffic controller is not going to have to ask you if you're familiar with these classes of airspaces and the requirements to fly in them. My fourth piece of advice is don't be afraid to make mistakes on these networks. Virtual air traffic controllers don't expect you to be perfect. However, they do expect you to be able to comply with the rules that you're given. So if you're told to fly heading 360, don't turn right and fly heading 090, because you're making their life a lot harder and you could be flying directly into the path of another aircraft. In your silly little Cessna 172, you matter a lot less than an A320. The reason for that being is that the A320 cannot slow down and maneuver as quick as the 172 can. So try just to always comply with air traffic control. If you don't understand what they said or what they're trying to tell you, say, "Can you repeat? I don't understand." That is completely okay, and it'll at least tell the air traffic controller that you're newer and that you need a little more of an obvious explanation. Air traffic controllers on these networks will break standard phraseology to assist you when you're confused, because they want you to have as much as a good time as anyone else who's flying. The last piece of advice I'm going to give you is please be clear and concise with what you want. We do not need, as air traffic controllers, dissertations about your entire life story.
Copy to Sierra Alpha. We're having a little bit of a problem. Took off from Kennedy, JFK. They told me fly runway heading and to contact departure, but I do not know how to contact departure because the service station, I believe, can only do frequencies like 123, for example, 0.10 or 5, not 123, 0.12. Or if it does, I don't have any idea how to do that. So I've been flying runway heading for about 10 nautical miles from JFK runway 22 right. Could you assist me? I was directed here by air traffic controller, I believe.
Can I get a chance to talk? Honestly, if you're flying and you need something, you don't need to tell me, New York departure. This is Skyhawk 1234. I was flying out of 2,000 feet and then I saw a bird, so I turned left slightly off course because there was a bird, but now I'm going to turn back towards it. But that bird may have hit me, but our plane's flying fine, but we just want to make sure. So can we actually get a new clearance to get to Kennedy Airport, because I'm not sure if my...
Stop it. Get some help.
Stop. Be clear and concise with what you want. New York approach, Cessna 1234. We may have had a bird strike, need vectors back to the airport. That's it. I don't need the color of the bird. I don't need to know what kind of bird it was. I don't need to know if the bird is okay, if the bird's family is okay, if the bird needs counseling. I don't need to know any of that. Just tell me what you need, clear and concise. I'm going to try to be clear and concise back to you in the most simple way possible. So those are my main 5 tips when it comes to getting involved in online air traffic control networks and flying on networks such as VATSIM, IVEO, PilotEdge, or POSCON. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you a little bit of a taste of what to expect and how to best get involved in online networks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to press that like and of course that subscribe button, as it helps my channel grow. If you guys enjoyed this content, be sure to leave a comment below and I'll be sure to create more based upon this series of how to get involved. I'll see you guys all in the next one.